everyone, this is Bonnie from Backward Story, and I looked at all of the books coming out in May that are sequels or that I've been trying to get to for a long time, or that I've just purchased or been sent for review, and I made a list of the 21 books that I hope to read this month. And they're not all of the books in this picture that you're looking at. Some of them are sequels, and they're on my Nook to read digitally as advanced reader copies. I just couldn't get them all into the picture, obviously, because I only have one device to show those to you on. So these are the different series that I'm either hoping to get to, or to read the new book from, or to reread and then read the new book. And then there are some standalones as well. So let's take a look at everything I'm planning to read. Let me know if I've left anything out, because I'm sure that I have. May is a huge release month for books. I do want to leave some wiggle room so I can just throw in books that I randomly want to read that weren't on my original radar. Plus, with BEA coming up at the end of May, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff that I want to read from that as well. But let me know what you think I should be reading or what I should add to my queue, and I will definitely take a look. I've already started reading my Oxford Year by Julia Whelan. I'm actually almost done it, and I'm reviewing this tomorrow on Broadway World, and it is about a 24-year-old who gets a Rhodes Scholarship, and she goes to Oxford for a year. And it's definitely a book that if you like people like Nicholas Sparks or Jojo Moyet, you are really going to like this one too. It is not as sweet and innocent as the cover makes it look. I thought it was going to be a little more like the book The Royal Wedding that came out last year, but it's definitely more Nicholas Sparks. The next book I'm going to read, I'm so excited for. Last year, my favorite book of the year was Warcross by Marie Lu, and I just got an advanced reader copy of Wild Card, which doesn't have a cover yet, so I can't show it to you that way, but I am so excited to read this. I am pretty sure it's going to be my next book. However, tomorrow is Tuesday, and there are a couple of books coming out that I know that if I don't read them right away, there are going to be spoilers on the internet, but I had ordered the BAM exclusive, so it might take a few days to come in the mail, so I'm probably okay reading this. I'm just afraid that if I have a book hangover, I'm not going to want to dive into it right away, so this is probably going to be what I start next, but I'm not 100% sure about that just because of the way this week is going to shape up. Which, of course, leads me to my next book, A Court of Frost and Starlight. It comes out tomorrow. It's by Sarah J. Maas. I think the whole book community has been waiting to read it because it's really going to say where the next two books in the series go. And I just finished rereading A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin. So I am ready to read this, but like I said, I pre-ordered the exclusive copy, so it's going to come in the mail, and I probably won't have it tomorrow. But plus, I'm not going to be home tomorrow anyway, so you know, but definitely I'm going to pick that up as soon as I get a hold of it, and hopefully I'm not in the middle of something else at the time. Allied by Amy Tintera also comes out tomorrow. I loved Ruined when it came out a couple of years ago. It was so good. It took me by surprise. I was not expecting to love it nearly as much as I did. It's so badass. It's about this princess whose kingdom was destroyed, and she finds the carriage of the betrothed of the prince whose father destroyed her kingdom, and she jumps the carriage and she kills everybody on board, impersonates that princess as the betrothed, and goes to the kingdom so she can bring everyone down from within. And it was amazing, and the cliffhanger was deadly, and so I never read Avenged. I wanted to, I was excited to, I didn't have time to when I had it in my hand, and I was like, you know what? I can't deal with another crazy cliffhanger for another year. I'm just going to wait until Allied comes out. I'm going to reread Ruined, read Avenged, and read Allied. So this month I am planning to read all three. I've really been looking forward to seeing how this series comes together. I'm sure you were wondering why I have a Hamilton playbill. It's because Love and War just came out by Melissa de la Cruz. It is the sequel to Alex and Eliza, which came out last year, which I reviewed, and I also did an interview with Melissa de la Cruz for Broadway World if you want to check that out. And I love Hamilton. I love everything about Hamilton. I cannot tell you how many times I've listened to it. It is amazing. I've seen it. It was fantastic. Definitely one of my top 10 all-time favorite musicals, and that list is was pretty stagnant with stuff that I've loved over the years. So this is actually the first new musical to pop onto the list in a long time. And so I read Alex and Eliza last year, and I was excited to get my hands on Love and War. So I want to read that and review that very soon since it just came out. And it's historical fiction, so I just have to be in the mood for that. So hopefully soon. Speaking of needing to be in the mood for historical fiction, I was supposed to read Olivia Twist by Lori Langdon when it came out in March, and I just haven't been in the mood for historical fiction at all. And so I had it in my April TBR because I was like, I really needed to read this last month. I'm going to read it this month. And I didn't do that either. So I'm really hoping that this month I can get into the mood for historical fiction and finally read this because I really am excited to. I just haven't been in the mood at all, and I don't know. Do you guys get into moods like that too, where you can only read something if you're in that mood? Let me know. And I have one more historical fiction book to add to that list. It is My Plain Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows, and it actually does come out this month. Or maybe it doesn't come out until June. It comes out soon, though, and I've been trying to get to this for a while, too. But again, I haven't been in the mood for historical fiction. I loved the first book. It was so funny. It's like Monty Python meets The Princess Bride meets Gallivant, just in terms of humor with this one, and the fact that that was about Lady Jane Grey. She was the 9-day queen, and then she was decapitated, and they were like, well, but that isn't exactly the whole story, because there's magic involved, and shapeshifters, and the book is just so much fun, and you've got a little horse on it, and you have a ferret, a little ferret hiding there. You have gorgeous deckled edges. I love deckled edges on a book. And so that was so much fun. And this sounds like it's going to be just as much fun. It is about Jane Eyre and Charlotte Bronte. And it's got this whole Ghostbusters thing going on. So I do think that if any, and I mean, they're not really a series. They just are about different people named Jane. And so the three authors call themselves the Lady Janies. So you don't have to read this in order to read this because they have nothing to do with one another other than the fact that a character is named Jane. So I do think that this is going to be the book that gets me into the mood for historical fiction. I think I'm going to read this one first and then I'll be able to flow into the other two. And I'm just so excited. I love all of the authors. I especially love Jody Meadows. You've heard me go on and on about her and all of her books. And I am just really excited to finally dive into this one. I actually started reading The Fandom by Anna Day this past week because it came out on the 24th and I did want to read it release week, but I made the mistake of reading it right after Legendary by Stephanie Garber, and just that book had me in a bit of a hangover. It was, I couldn't read another book. I couldn't get lost in another world. I had to read something contemporary to get out of it, and so I didn't really get very far in this, so I do want to start reading it again. It came out April 24th, so I really do want to review it this month, but I also kind of want to wait until July for San Diego Comic-Con because this takes place at Comic-Con, and I feel like that's a really good time to promote it. So I might read it this month, or I might wait until July. I'm not sure about this one, so it could go either way. This is another one that I might not actually read this month. It's the new Casey West book, Listen to Your Heart. I love Casey West. I don't read a lot of teen contemporary. I do, but I don't love a lot of teen contemporary. I don't have a lot of go-to authors for teen contemporary. Fantasy is my thing. But Casey West is one of those authors I will always read anything that she writes, and I love her so much. I've read every single book she's written, and I am always so eager to read the next book by her, and I'll always put it on my TBR knowing nothing about it. But this cover, it's a lake, it's summertime. I feel like this is a book I might want to read in June, just because it's more of the time of year for those hot outdoor activities, and I like reading books when the weather matches them if it's that type of book. So I kind of want to wait. But at the same time, I really want to read this because I really want to read another Casey West book. So I can't decide if I'm going to get to it this month or not, and I'll know if I get in the mood for contemporary, because if I do, I'm definitely going to pick this one up. Speaking of contemporary, I am so excited for From Twinkle with Love by Sandhya Menon, and it is a companion novel to When Dimple Met Rishi, which I really enjoyed reading last year, and I love that there's even an image on the back cover. I can't wait to see the wrap for Twinkle, and I might reread this one. I haven't decided if I'm going to reread it or not yet, but I might, and then I do want to read From Twinkle with Love, so I'm going to read either one or both of these this month. Another contemporary I'll be reading this month is Dating the Prince, a real romance comedy. It is by Alita Snow, and I am on tour with this book later on in May, so I will be reading it for my tour stop. I am also on tour for Princess of the Rose by K.L. Bone, so this is one that I will be reading this week so that I can review it next week and let you know more about it then. And I forget if it was March or April, I was on tour for Tracing Shadows by Alex Liddell, and the sequel is coming out in May, Unraveling Darkness, so I have a review copy of that to read for release week as well, and I'm super excited. It's a duology. This author is very underappreciated. She's not super well known. I wish more people knew her because her books are so good, and I'm really excited to read this because the way the first book ended, definitely excited to see where things wind up next. Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson has been on my radar ever since Mary announced that there was going to be a companion series to her Remnant Chronicles, which I loved that series so much. It starts with Kiss of Deception, which I loaned out to somebody, and at this point I might just have to buy another copy of it because I don't think I'm getting it back, unfortunately. Then Heart of Betrayal is the sequel, followed by The Beauty of Darkness. I mean, I do want to reread them, but I don't know that I will reread them. We'll see. I might start reading Dance of Thieves and then decide to reread them, in which case I probably won't read it this month. I'll probably have to wait till June, but I am hoping to read Dance of Thieves this month, even though it doesn't come out till August, just because I'm so excited for it, and I cannot wait to see what became of this world, to see if any of the characters make an appearance, and I mean, the way the third book ends, it just leaves you wanting more of the world, so I am so excited to get into Dance of Thieves. And the last books that I am planning to read this month, and that's just planning, mind you, I'm sure there are going to be more books I read that aren't on my list at all, especially with BEA coming up at the end of the month. However, the last 3 books that I really do want to get to are all by Seanan McGuire, and they are the first 3 books in the Wayward Children series. You have Every Hearted Doorway, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, and Beneath the Sugar Sky, and this one is autographed. And I bought all 3 of these in January. I had heard about the books before, but I didn't really think one way or the other about them. The first 2 books have both won the Alex Award, so it would be interesting to see if this one does next year as well. The Alex Award is crossover. They're adult fantasy novels that have crossover appeal to YA audiences. And the series is about kids like Dorothy from Oz and Alice from Wonderland who come back to our world and they can't adjust again because everything is too ordinary now, and nobody believes them. They think they're crazy. And there's this boarding school. And the first book was on sale in January for a couple of dollars digitally. And I downloaded the sample and I read the first chapter, which if you want to pause, you can read it too. And it starts off with parents talking to a headmistress about whether or not the school will be a good place for their child, because they want them to forget these crazy things. And it turns out that the headmistress also was one of these wayward children, and she also came back. So she created this boarding school to be a safe haven for kids like herself. And so I read the first chapter and I was like, I'm sold. I need this series. So I bought all 3. I bought this one from Book Outlet. This one I got signed at Barnes & Noble, and I don't remember where I bought this one. I probably got a cheaper version of it just because they're so thin and they are $18 each, so I didn't want to spend too much if I didn't know if I would love the series. But I am so excited to read this. I've been trying to get to it since January. They sound amazing. They're all original characters, I think. Although one of the books, possibly this one, it sounds like the main characters are Jack and Jill. So that is really interesting as well. And it's not a trilogy. There are going to be more stories, but it sounds like they're all companion novels and they don't continue with the same characters throughout, so I am just so excited to get my hands on these. And they're short, so I do think that I'll be able to blow through them really fast once I do start reading them, which hopefully will be this month. So that is everything from me today. I really would love to know what you're planning to read this month, what books in my pile you would recommend reading first, especially if you've read them already. If there's anything that we're both reading that maybe you want to buddy read, that would be fun too. So let me know below. I can't wait to hear what you're planning to read in May, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye!